Well, the holidays are here. So happy holidays. You can always tell the holidays are here when the cyber sales have started. It feels like they start earlier and earlier. I'm just waiting for them to start in August at some point. So they're here now. And my two favorite ones popped up early this year. I just love it. My favorite magnesium products, livingthegoodlifenaturally.com. Use coupon code LTH to get a total of 35% off that adds a discount on top of their current sale. So you'll want to run to livingthegoodlifenaturally.com and grab a few jugs of that magnesium soak. You know, this is the time of year every year where I restock for my entire family because it's the biggest sale that she puts on every year. I just love this magnesium soak. You put your feet in a few inches of water with just 2 ounces of this soak and you absorb grams of magnesium. You will have better sleep, more energy. It actually lowers stress levels, so you just feel better. It's wonderful. If you haven't tried it already, you've got to try it. It's also a great Christmas gift, and she has some amazing, very high quality Christmas gifts over there. I say that because I know Kristen. I've gotten to know her throughout the years, and she's meticulous when it comes to all of her ingredients. So she has shea butter in some of her products, and she has like an acerola cherry powder for all the most natural vitamin C you can get. It's all very close to nature and just really great ingredients. So I love her products. So of course my favorite is any of the magnesium products. I love the muscle cream, for example. I have a jar right by my bed, and if any of us, my husband and I, wake up with, like a little muscle cramp or like muscle, you wake up and your like neck is tense, or maybe you're going to bed. Sometimes this happens to me where I'm going to bed and I'm wearing the stress of the day in my shoulders, and I can just feel the tension in my neck and in my shoulders and all the way around my ears. I'll take a goop of that jar and I'll just rub it on my hands and rub it all over my neck, and it soaks in, the magnesium soaks in. And I fall asleep so quickly because all the muscles just melt, all that tension melts away. So I love the magnesium products. They're livingthegoodlifenaturally.com. Be sure to use coupon code LTH. Now the sale happens until they run out of supplies. So you'll want to go and grab that as soon as possible. And make sure when you check out that you add the coupon code LTH, as in Learn True Health, to that checkout. So you get the extra discount, which totals 35% off. And anytime you're buying it throughout the year, you can use that coupon code. In fact, she allows listeners to do repeat orders and always get the discount, which is great because not everyone does that. Some people who give our listeners discount only give like a first time sale discount kind of thing, and she gives a discount every time you buy. So be sure to use coupon code LTH every time you buy from livingthegoodlifenaturally.com. And of course, anytime I mention something that I really believe in, I always try to get a discount from them, and usually they can use that same coupon code. So it's worth a shot. Anytime I mention something, just try coupon code LTH. More likely than not, you're going to be getting a discount from them for mentioning that coupon code. And the next big thing is my favorite sauna. In fact, you might hear it. It's right beside me. You hear that? That is me knocking on my amazing and beautiful full spectrum light therapy healing sauna. It's wonderful because you feel so comfortable in it. It only gets up to about 130 degrees, which I know that sounds hot, but when you're sitting in a sauna, it's actually really comfortable and very easy to breathe. The traditional saunas are between 160 to 180, and they're very hard to breathe. They're like, the air is just so dry and so hot. And this sauna is so comfortable to sit in because the heat from the light, the infrared, the near, mid, and far infrared are soaking into your tissues and heating you from the inside out, basically. So you're not waiting for the heat to penetrate in. The light frequency is getting in and heating you on a deeper level. There are so many studies about sauna therapy and why it's good everywhere from there's cancer studies, there's longevity studies, there's cholesterol studies, weight loss studies, detox studies, heart health studies. There's studies for athletes to repair faster, recover faster, get rid of the aches and pains faster. It's safe for children. You gotta work your way up. So they say 1 minute for every year. So a 10-year-old can do 10 minutes, that kind of thing. and it is safe for the elderly. Obviously, we have to watch out with hydration. So you can, go do 10-minute increments, that kind of thing. But just getting in a sauna once a day or once every other day, you are increasing your longevity and guess what? Decreasing all-cause mortality. Just go Google it. Just go benefits of sauna, but Google studies of benefits of sauna therapy. You're going to be amazed. And then the benefits increase when you're using, because most of those studies are done on traditional saunas. When you look at infrared sauna studies, you're going to see some amazing things. And so you can actually go to learntruehealth.com/sunlighten to listen to one of my episodes about the specific Sunlighten saunas from the creator, Connie Zach, the founder of Sunlighten. And if you like to get the amazing discount, they're hosting an awesome cyber sale right now. You can go to learntruehealth.com/sunlighten sauna. That's learntruehealth.com/sunlighten sauna. And check out all their different types of saunas. They have a personalized sauna that you can fold up just like a massage table and put under the bed or put in the closet if you live in a small space. I live in a pretty small townhouse condo, and yet our sauna, it's like a TARDIS, if you know the sci-fi term. It looks small on the outside, but my husband and I can sit inside of it together side by side and sauna at the same time if we wanted to. And that is their 1 to 2 person. So that fits in a small office. It's tucked into my corner, which is really cool. And then of course they have bigger ones for the whole family, or if you want to lie down in a sauna, you can get the bigger ones. But they're really awesome. I highly recommend them. They're non-toxic. That's a big thing. A lot of those cheaper ones you get out there have toxic glues and adhesives, and you just don't want that. So you want something that's guaranteed to help your body heal and not create more of a burden, more of a toxic burden. So check that out, learntruehealth.com/sunlighten sauna. And if you have any questions at all, I'd love for you to reach out to me. You can come to our Facebook group, the Learn True Health Facebook group. You can go to learntruehealth.com/group to get there, or you could just search Learn True Health on Facebook and ask questions. Jump in and ask questions. I love answering questions. We also have other experts in the group that answer questions. So we're an amazing community looking to always take our health to the next level. And some people are on a healing journey, and some people are just wanting to always, learn new things. They geek out on it. Like I just constantly geek out on everything I'm learning. And if you want to stay in touch, come to learntruehealth.com, scroll to the bottom, and be sure to add yourself to the newsletter. I have some really exciting things coming up in the next few months. I have my course on anxiety where I worked with several complete strangers who suffer from intense anxiety, and I showed them how to turn their anxiety off in 90 seconds or less, and then I taught them tools that rewire the brain and turn off anxiety. And within a matter of weeks, these participants had between 70 to 100% decrease in their anxiety, complete elimination of their chronic anxiety problems. Just so exciting that I'm taking what I've been doing for the last 20 years with clients, and I'm putting it into a really powerful course that is simple to do. It's not too heady. It's not too intense. It is simple. It's simple step-by-step tools that really work, that will turn off your anxiety and help you rewire your brain, reprogram your brain, retrain your brain to no longer choose to create anxiety, but instead create excitement and motivation and drive and joy and peace and calmness in your body. So if that's something that excites you, be sure to get on my newsletter so you're going to be the first to know when it has launched, which is going to be launching soon in the next few months. Thank you so much for being a listener. Thank you so much for sharing this podcast with those you care about. Together, we're turning a ripple into a tidal wave and helping over 1 million people to learn true health. Enjoy today's interview. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 588. I am so excited for today's guest. We have BarbieRivera.com here today. I'll try that again. I didn't mean to say
okay.
That. That's so funny. You're now a website.
I'm a website.
Sorry. Your website.
Right.
Actually, I'll keep it. Barbie's not a website. Barbie's an amazing guest. I'm excited to have you here. But I also wanted to let guests know about BarbieRivera.com, which is her website. Of course, the links to everything that Barbie does is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntrail.com. And you can get the first 6 chapters of her book for free when you go to BarbieRivera.com. I'm excited for people to dig in to your story, dig
Mm-hmm.
into your book, and learn from you today. So the school system tried to drug your son and failed, and you have this amazing story, and I'm so excited for us to learn from you. I think parents, students, grandparents, anyone who has a child or a student in their life that they're helping that is struggling, this interview is for them. And also, I think on some level it's cathartic for us who the school system failed us. The school system failed me, and I spent like half my life believing that I'm stupid and the school system's perfect and I'm the one that was broken
Mm-hmm.
until I learned it was mostly from John Taylor Gatto, where I like started to have these revelations that like, oh wait, this system is broken. It is
Yes.
not it is not designed for every learning style. And if your learning style is outside of the box of the education system, then you fall behind. And a lot of these children end up being emotionally damaged, sometimes for life, because they have been led to believe that they're lesser than because they didn't fit in that system. And the system's not designed to help every type of learner reach their full potential, right? So we've been lied to. And I'm excited to dive into this because I think that it's a aha moment. It's like a paradigm shift when you get that you and every single person out there has this amazing ability to learn. And we're like children, they're amazing learners. They love learning and they all have different styles of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And not to just subjugate them to one system, that we should instead look to support their learning style. And so much comes of that. And plus, when we look at how to support the optimal brain health, right? Thinking of
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, ADHD, like supporting optimal brain health, there's such a turnaround that happens in a child's life. And I mean, I have a 10-year-old. If I don't let him get just one factor, good enough sleep, if he like loses a few hours of sleep for a few nights in a row, he is not all right. You know what I mean?
It,
And no one around him is
yes.
all right. And it's just this one little thing. Or if he eats something, he has food sensitivities. If he eats something he's sensitive to for the 3 days, he is having emotional outbursts. Like, and he's not a very difficult kid. He's bright. He's wonderful. Every single parent like goes, "Oh, your kid's so easy, so amazing." I'm like, well, you don't have him 24/7. Like he's a handful at times.
Yeah.
But I'm watching and I'm seeing that these little things like sleep or too much screen time. And I mean it. Like we do screen detoxes all the time. 3 days off of screens, he's a new person.
Yep.
And these little tiny things make such a huge difference. They do for adults too, but we tend to be able to mask it a bit better
Mm-hmm.
than kids. Kids have no ability to mask. They're like, they have no filter, right? They're just all out there. They let all their stuff out. And so if you learn all the little things that you can do to support your learner in your life, including yourself as an adult, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then learn that the system's broken, and what you need to do as a parent or a guardian, right, to help support that child. It is life changing. It is night and day. So that's why I'm so excited to have you on the show. So Barbie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, let's just dig right in. So your website, BarbieRivera.com, first 6 chapters of your book for free, which is exciting. And you did say before we hit record, the real like transformation, the real meat, of course, is in the second half of the book, but the first half really sets it up, and people can go, oh wow, they see themselves in that story in the first 6 chapters.
Yeah.
Tell us your story.
Okay. So I'm an artist. Really, that's what I wanted to do. I mean, there were a couple of goals that I had in my life. I wanted a bunch of kids. I'm talking 8.
Mm-hmm.
I have 4. Actually, I have 5. Uh, my closest friend, I'm going back 20 years, maybe longer, actually, longer. She got ill and she wasn't going to recover. And she asked me to take her 8-year-old. And I'm like, okay, like, what do you say to that? No, you can't say no to that. So that was my fifth boy, my fifth child. I have he would make it 4 boys and a girl. And he is right in the middle of my 2 older ones and right in the middle of my 2 younger ones. So to me, when you have a family of 4 and you take one in, it's nothing. It really doesn't change the dynamic at all. If I would have had one and taken one in, I think it would have been a disaster. But when there's so many, I come from a huge family. I just come from a huge family, and I've always liked a huge family. My grandmother had 13. My parents had 5. I have aunts and uncles that had 9 and 7. Anyway, so I'm an artist and not formally trained, but I can paint. I can draw. I can, if you're like, hey, I'm having a wedding and I need little favors, I'm like, I got you. I know what to do. And it looks nice. It's nice. Anyway, so that's what I was going to do. And I find myself, it was 33 years ago. Well, it was actually 34 years ago. My oldest son, Damon, he was 6. And I don't know that there's a better 6-year-old. Like if you were to describe the best traits of a 6-year-old, my son, you could check all those boxes. He was super well behaved, very respectful, very easygoing. I don't think he ever threw a fit, like no tantrums. And he spoke 2 languages and would go on, go with the grandfather to the Keys and go fishing. And there was no problems. Like no one ever complained about him. And it's not that I'm a parent that's not going to listen to complaints. It was just he was easygoing. So when he went to school, I'm like, they're going to love him. They're going to love him, because I was thinking his first grade would be like my first grade in Cincinnati, which I think I was in first grade in 1970. And the 1970 first grade was 3 recesses, which was an extended lunch, a half an hour break in the morning and a half an hour break after lunch, no homework, no standardized testing, and it was a slow gradient of mastering skills. And the teacher was this older woman who played the piano. Anyway, it was a lovely thing. And I remember I had artistic skills back then that, like the type of encouragement I got, we were learning words like tie and pie. And I drew a pie with the P-I-E, which I was super happy that my handwriting was good. And I drew a pie. And she was like, Barbara, that pie looks so good. I can almost smell Thanksgiving. And she sent me across the hall to the 2nd grade teacher to show them my pie. It was like a big deal. And she even called my mom. It's like, Barbara's pie has the entire first floor of the school just wanting pumpkin pie. You know what I'm saying? She didn't have to do any of that. But that's how it was. Like, and this was a poor section of Cincinnati. This was the East End. This was not a private school or whatever. This was the East End in Cincinnati. You could see the river from my back porch. It was about a mile away, the Ohio River. Anyway, so I'm under the delusion that my son is going to get that much affinity and that it's not going to be a pressure cooker. His first day, he came home with 3 hours of homework. And I'm like, what are we doing? And he had to write a book report, and he couldn't read. It's not like he can't read. He also couldn't drive a car, and he couldn't manage finances. He's 6. So I did the wrong thing, which I thought I was being a good mom. Looking back, I was being a horrible mom. No offense to any moms doing what I'm about to tell you. I sat and I worked with him on his homework, and I explained everything to him. And he was more miserable and more miserable and more miserable. And the words got bigger and bigger, and the concepts got like, why are we talking about elections? Whatever happened to George Washington was the first president? Like simplicity, right? So on the second Friday of school, the teacher pulled me aside. Second Friday, we're 10 days into the school year. And she says, Barbie, your son is mentally handicapped. Those were her exact words. And he will most likely need a prescription for the rest of his life to learn.
Now,
And
this
I'm
is the
like,
early 90s?
yes, yes. And I'm like, there is no way anybody is putting a pill in his body. And what the teacher wanted me to do was sign off on him getting evaluated. I'm like, there is no way my son is going to get prodded and probed. He speaks 2 languages. I do not speak 2 languages. And I'm going to argue that you want a school full of this kid. He doesn't lie. He doesn't cheat. He's respectful. He raises his hand. But they destroyed. And then I did another thing that was horrible as a mom. I kept him in school because I guess in August or September, I was 7 months pregnant with my 4th one. And I'm like, okay, I have a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, and I'm pregnant. There's no way I could homeschool him. There's just no way. I'm like, I'm going to end up doing more harm. And that was false. Because looking back, I feel like I left, and I write this, this is my analogy. I left my son in a burning building with a beautiful lunchbox, a great haircut, Ninja Turtle shoes, but he was in a burning building and I could see the fire and I could smell the smoke.
What do you mean when you said they destroyed? Like they destroyed
Oh,
him, his
because
love of learning?
yeah, his love of learning. At the end of 1st grade, he learned one thing from the public school system, that he was stupid. And those were his words.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's a knife through my heart. By Christmas, he was shut down. By Christmas of that year, you could see this light in his eye just went out, because every day he is going into 8 hours, 7 or 8 hours, one of forced to sit in a chair. When I was in 1st grade, we were not forced to sit in a chair. The seat work was the lesser part of the day. Most of it was singing songs in a circle, Farmer in the Dell, okay, we're going to play this game. And they were all learning games. It wasn't just do what you want. There was structure. And the structure was run. Like, okay, guys, now it's time for science. Get your magnifying glasses, put on your coats. We're going outside. It's snowing. Let's see if we can discover something. It was exciting. And now it was just paper and a packet, and a pencil. And that was he was just shut down. Like overwhelmed. He had to write book report. He was expected to write book reports before he could read. And I'm like, that makes absolutely no sense. And the teacher argued, well, his capacity for learning. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with his capacity of learning. Did you not hear me? He is fluent in 2 languages. He can learn. He knows how to make himself macaroni and cheese. Now, it's the box stuff, which isn't the greatest, but he could do those things. He can help me with his brothers, like in his sisters. When I say, Damon, bring me the diaper bag, he'll gladly bring it. If I'm cooking, he'll sit with the baby while the baby's in his little car seat and tell him jokes or engage. Like, he's an active participant to the family and loves his siblings. But it just, like, he stopped playing the way he used to play. He stopped creating the way he used to create. And it was really hard to have the front row seat to see his decline. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy he's got his whole life to fall apart. But he's not going to fall apart on my watch when he's 6. Even if he was special needs, even if he was mentally handicapped, he shouldn't feel stupid. And the drugs aren't going to solve it anyway. Like, if we speak to the drugs are under this classification. It's called CNS medication, and it stands for central nervous system. So essentially, they wanted to destroy his or alter his brain and his spine before his baby teeth were out. And that was somehow the cure. And I'm like, will it help him read? I already knew the answer. No, but it'll manage his behavior. I'm like, his behavior doesn't need to be managed. Like,
What
I
was
don't
he
know what we're
doing?
doing. He
What was
wasn't
he?
doing anything. That's the thing. Out of all four of mine, he was the most chill. Like, seriously, he would, if you gave him blocks, he would sit on the ground and play with blocks. If I would pull him to a chair, and I feel like I'm a very hands on mother. I read stories to my kids every night. There was a routine: dinner, clean up after dinner, playtime, showers, baths, snack, brush your teeth. And now I'm going to read to you. I'll tell you a story every night. I mean, it was years, because then when Damon gets to be 6, well, there's a 3-year-old and there's a 1-year-old that I'm going to read the stories to. And then the baby grows up, so they had stories their whole life. They had Easter egg hunts. We had Santa. We did letters to Santa. Like, I'm very hands on. If I'm cooking something in the kitchen, they help me. When I go to the grocery store and I need, I don't know, spaghetti sauce, I have them pick it out. Now, I'm giving a choice. Hey, here's 4 jars. It's the same thing. They don't know that. Which one should I get? They get it. And I'm like, hey, do you know that tonight's spaghetti was amazing because of the sauce you picked? And so they felt like they felt that I loved them and that my life has benefited because they're in it. They weren't
Mm.
constantly driven away or, hey, shut up, or you're being too noisy or anything. And, it wasn't like that. So they were nurtured, I would say, and they were not allowed to have bad manners. They weren't allowed to say bad words. They weren't allowed to kick and hit. They weren't allowed to throw a tantrum in public. And I think because I didn't allow it, they didn't do it. Like, okay, guys, when you get up in the morning, go to the bathroom, then you come in and you make up your bed. Now, do I think it's going to be military standard? No, but they can bring the cover up and they can put the pillow on top. It's simple. It was, to me, that's part of managing a family. And I felt like I was on point. But I was under the delusion that he's going to have the experience that I had in school. And earlier you said something like the system is broken. The system is not broken. The system is intentionally, and this is strong, ruining our children. Like, if you have a flat tire, okay, you fix the tire. But if your bicycle has been altered to where it takes you into a ditch, that's something else. And
Mm-hmm.
now I've been doing this for 30 something years, and I see what is happening in the school system that is just, it's a one-way ticket to that ditch. If the child is bright, he gets labeled gifted and the work gets piled on. If he's slow, he gets labeled this. If he mixes up the P and the G, oh, that's dyslexia. There's a label for everything. And I'm like, life is actually not like that. I sometimes forget why I walked into the kitchen. Okay? Sometimes I forget what I named my own children. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean I have a mental defect, because I do know what their name is. But whatever, I didn't sleep last night, or I'm hungry, or I'm distracted, and I go to my son. I'm like, okay, what did I name you again? Whoever you are, could you please take the trash out? I reckon, it's a joke. Except these kids are getting labeled and then drugged for being kids. And I argue that I don't know when it happened, if it was the 40s, if it was the 50s, if it was the 60s, maybe earlier, maybe later. But the pharmaceutical companies were like, hey, here's a whole population of people we could be making money off of. So we're going to use our vocabulary words, and where people used to think, oh, kids are always more active than kids, we're going to make that a label, or more active than adults. Sorry. Children are more active than adults as a natural consequence of planet Earth. We're going to turn that into a label, and we're going to call them hyperactive. and we're going to shut them down. And I've seen these kids that have been on these drugs, and the parents are like, look, he's focused. I'm like, okay, mom and dad, if you were in high school and you went to a pot party, or your friend was drinking at one of these teenage parties, and they look at a vase for 3 hours, 1 inch from the vase, and they're like, wow, look at this. I go, that's not focus. Those are drugs. Again, children have shorter attention spans than adults. Now it's labeled. When I was growing up, it wasn't. It was an understanding of life. When I was in first grade, we got instructed on short spurts of time. We would spend, and I remember it, 15 minutes on handwriting. And then that was it. On pencil to paper, practicing the alphabet. Then we switched to something else. And it was a short session. Then there would be a game, then a short session. And then there would be a song, and then a short session. And I loved it. And I learned, and I was reading, I don't know, chapter books by the time I was at the end of second grade. And that wasn't because I was gifted. The majority of my classmates were the same. But yet now it's different. Now, the scary thing is I'm getting 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th graders that don't know a capital letter starts with, a sentence starts with a capital letter. And that's frightening. And the statistics now are, I don't have it in front of me, but like 57% of American adults from the ages of 17 to 75 read at or below a 6th grade level. That's terrifying. And I see it. I see it with, and I see it, and it's almost comical, but it's not. When my school has a field trip and the kids are going to the zoo, and I think we're being super clear, please send them with a packed lunch that doesn't need to be in a microwave. Somebody already sends with a can of SpaghettiOs.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, okay, what can we do with this? So, and those are like I say, that's almost comical. But it's, to me, the education has just deteriorated so horribly. I had so I eventually homeschooled, and then I transitioned into a small private school. In reality, I would be what's considered a micro school because I have less than 50 kids in my kindergarten to 12th grade. I'm in a storefront in Miami. In the summertime, I had 3 different teenagers come to me from a school that is a $30,000 a year school. I'm about 10 or 11,000 a year. $30,000 a year school that boasts 1 psychologist per 4 students.
Ooh,
I'm like, I
wow.
know, I know, right? So these boys, they come because the school was closing. And they now need a school. And the parents are looking, rightfully so, for a small school. On paper, it sounds wonderful. Parents show up, and these are 3 separate boys. They're not related at all. 3 separate appointments, 3 separate interviews. And the kids walk in, and I already know. I'm like, second grade. And I just wrote on a piece of paper. I have a high school assessment. There was no way these kids could do it. So I wasn't even going to bring that out. So I'm like, okay, could you write your name for me? It looked like a first grader. Like total, like the letters were all different sizes, no space between the first name and the last name. I'm like, these are the things we correct in first grade. Not corrected. Write 3 sentences about yourself. Didn't know how to do it. None of these boys from this school. And then give me 100, take away 81. 1 for 1, the kids reach for the calculator. And I'm like, no, you don't get to use my calculator. Oh, that's the way we use it. Because now, again, I realize I'm cramming a lot into this. Like, you have the term special accommodation in school. And there are valid points to special accommodation. If one of my children was born deaf, I definitely want a hearing aid. If they need a wheelchair, absolutely. We need ramps, we need hearing aids, we need all of that. Those are special accommodations, right? However, now, if the child gets labeled, there are special accommodations, such as they give them calculators in kindergarten, and they're allowed to keep the calculators until 12th grade and use them on all tests, quizzes, and exams. And I'm like, well, that's hilarious. We just made them stupid. They'll never be able to run a business on their own if they can't think mathematically. And math is where we get, people tell me, like I have students right now, I teach pre-algebra in my school. And some of the kids will say, Barbie, I'm never going to use it. I go, that is absolutely not true. I go, in life, your problems are going to be multi-step. It's not all 2 plus 2. When you buy a house, you have to be able to sustain a thought from beginning to end. You can't, there's a lot to that action. Even if you plan a wedding, plan your graduation, there's a lot to that. And when you can stay with a math problem from beginning to end, that develops that problem solving skill. That is a skill. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, right. And so then they get it, right? So when we give these calculators to these kids, they don't have that problem solved. They've not touched problem solving. They're dependent on a device. The other special accommodation, which has come up a lot since COVID, is called the reading pen. Now you can Google reading pen, and there's always a fancy name for something because then it makes it sound like, oh, I need this. They're about the size of a cigar. They have one end of it could be the head of a fox, an owl, a dog, a cow. Like, they're super cute. What the student does is they take the reading pen and they put it over the words on the page, and it reads to them. And they're allowed to have this reading pen for all things that all text, all materials, books, worksheets, whatever, and they can use it on a quiz. So now the kids that can't remember the sound of the letters of the alphabet, we just give them a reading pen and then they don't have to. And I'm like, well, now there's the double whammy. Now they can't read and they can't do math. So what are we doing? Like, seriously, what are we doing? And then you have, like when I told you I was being the good mom when I wasn't, you have parents that mean like they love their children, but they are parrots to the pharmaceutical and psychiatric and psychological community of like, well, my son doesn't obey, they don't obey me because they're ADHD. And I'm like, well, that is a load of crap. Make your son put his shoes away. Oh, he can't put his shoes away because he's ADHD. I'm like, that's a lie. You may have to pick his body up, make his arm pick up those shoes while you're holding them, and you walk him into the closet and you put them down, and then you say, thank you. And then you do the next thing. And then you do the next thing. And then you do the next thing. You don't have to be mean about it. But I recall my youngest son, I'm in Miami. It's 100 degrees, 11 months out of the year. And my kids all played outside. They all got filthy every day. And my youngest son comes in. He goes, I'm not taking a bath. I'm like, that is not true. It's time to take a bath. No. And I'm like, I pick him up, turn the shower on, and I'm in the shower with him fully dressed. I'm like, you're taking a bath. And he's screaming his head off. I don't care. He's not getting into bed like that. He's not going to eat dinner like that. If a seed were to fly on his body, it would plant itself and grow. That's how dirty he was. And I'm like, this little 3-year-old is not running the show. I'm running the show. And what did he learn from that? The next time I say, you're going to take a bath, he's like, yeah, I'm going to take a bath, whether I want to or not. I'm like, I'm not asking you permission. I'm not consulting you. The same way I'm not allowing you to eat ice cream, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
You're his executive function.
That's right. Well, and you know what? That brings up an interesting thing because I'm a single mom that I'm like, I'm the executive director of this family. I'm in charge of the money. I'm in charge of the activities. And if these kids, like I say, oh, they won't put their shoes away, that reflects my skill as an executive director. What if I was the manager of McDonald's and nobody worked? Oh, I have a full shift. Oh, nobody works. Nobody will listen to me. That's not on them. That's on the manager. So my youngest one, thank goodness he was born last, because I had Damon. My daughter was easygoing. My son Adam, easy peasy. And then Michael, I swear, I think his first word was "and another thing." And I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, here we go. And it wasn't that he was bad. He was just different. And he was very strong. And I don't want to break the strong. I don't want to break that. But at the same time, I've had parents, well, my child is free-spirited and we let them go to bed when they want. And I'm like, that to me is crazy. Because no matter how free-spirited they are, you still have to obey the traffic lights. Like, come on, Mom and Dad. Oh, I couldn't wake him up in the morning because he looked just so peaceful. I'm like, come on. You're setting them up to fail. Like, getting them up on time is not going to harm anybody.
Or more importantly, getting them to bed on time.
Right.
Yeah, that is the thing, especially children who are neurodivergent. It, like, more often than not, it is harder for them to fall asleep. Their brains are going, right? But that routine you described, that bedtime routine, is so important. Having that nice shower, having that wind down with the storytelling, that is so important. But bedtime routine starts right after dinner. That's my thing. Like, don't go to screens, don't turn on TV. It is like 6 p.m. dinner or 7 p.m. dinner maximum, and then it is immediately the bedtime routine. They're not falling asleep right away, but they're beginning the bedtime routine. It takes about 2 to 3 hours for me from start to finish with my son, the whole routine, right? But that's their learning hygiene, right? They're learning self-care, and he never wants to go to sleep ever.
Right.
Ever. Like, and he'll cry, be like, I can't believe it's bedtime already. I can't believe the day's already over. Like, he's just so sad about it because, like, he wants to go have more fun. Can I just have 5 more minutes of this? Can I just have and it's like, he will turn that 5 minutes into 5 hours. Like, if I left him alone, he would pull an all-nighter. Like, I am his, like I said, I'm in his executive function. But if I let it slip, because, I get this, like, it's the summer, or, it's the weekend. And if he misses, like, he just goes to bed a little bit late, he still wakes up at around the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
But now he has less sleep. Less sleep for kids is 10 times worse mentally, emotionally than for adults, right? Like, we can kind of, like, we self-medicate, right? Like, we drink some kind of caffeine to mask the feeling of being tired. We, do some kind of sugary thing in the afternoon to kind of, like, try to pick us up. Right? Not me, but, like, just in general.
Yeah. Just
adults
in general.
will do caffeine in the morning, sugar in the afternoon, alcohol at night. And that's the self-medication cycle of adults to mask the fact that they are not being responsible enough to go to bed on time. And I have several interviews about sleep hygiene. You just type in sleep or sleep hygiene in learntourhealth.com. And it gives amazing and detailed explanations as to how to set yourself up, especially if you have insomnia, how to set yourself up for amazing sleep. But we have to be so protective of children's sleep, and we're really setting them up for failure, especially learning failure, if we don't have them go to bed early enough. My son's bedtime, I'm like, for me, I want to be well into the bedtime routine around 7,
Yes.
I'd like to have him asleep by 8. He's 10. And
Yep.
he has friends whose bedtime is like 10, 10:30, 11. I'm like, that is too
Yeah,
late.
that's crazy.
That is
Yep.
absolutely crazy. We need to have kids. I'd rather he fall asleep at 7,
Yes.
but somewhere like around 8, I'd like that because then, then his body can naturally wake up when it wants to and we know it has enough sleep. But I see it in his behavior for days. For
Yes.
several days, I see it as behavior. And food, big thing, processed food. I see if he does like maybe go to a friend's house, have some junk food, I see it in his behavior for days. And it's not massively overt. He's not, punching holes through
Yeah.
walls. He's not, a human ping pong ball. It's just, I could tell that his emotional regulation is off.
Yep.
And he's so sensitive to that. Like just little changes in diet and in lifestyle like sleep. Not enough movement is another one. If he doesn't, like, I have him in some kind of physical activity. I homeschool. I don't know if you know that. I have him in
Good.
some kind of physical activity every day. And I think, again, we adults, the same thing. Like, we need it. We need to go for walks
Yep.
at least, right? Like, get out, move
Yep.
around, or put some Zumba on YouTube and just move around in your living room. I like to run up and down my stairs in my house, doing
Mm-hmm.
cleaning, right? And it's just like, I'm just going to carry one thing at a time up and down the stairs. I'm like, I get so many steps in. And they actually, I think there was a longevity study that showed that people who live in homes with multiple floors live independently longer, like have like healthier lives as seniors. And it just makes sense, right? We're just protecting our ability to be physically functional. And but
Yep.
children, if they're sitting around all day like sloths or on iPads or whatever, and you're like, oh, but it's the weekend, they don't get exercise. You'll see in their behavior for days. They don't get their sleep gets disrupted by not enough exercise. Like
Yep.
it's kind of like having a puppy, to be honest. It's like you have to run them. you know,
No,
they're
you
good.
do.
You got to feed them well. You got to run them. You got to bathe them. You got to give them time to sleep. It's like having kids is like having dogs
Well,
in a
it
lot of
is.
ways.
It absolutely is, because the other thing that you don't like, it creeps up on you, is they're growing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had one of my children he's almost 6'4", and I'm 5'4", and the fathers were 5'7". So, and in my mom's side of the family, people are tall. My son grew 6 inches in 1 year when he was like, I don't know, 12 to 13.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were little, he would sleep for 12 hours at night
Yep.
for 3 days in a row, eat everything,
Yep.
and then go 3 days back to normal eating and normal sleep habits. And so, it's like you don't necessarily see that. And then when if a family member visits every 3 months, then they see it. They go, oh my gosh, Adam, you've grown like a foot. But you don't see it when you're there every day, but you just know that it's there. So you got to pack that body with good food, and you got to make sure that they are getting sleep. And for me, just what you said, I think I had dinner at 5:30 or 6, and that was when the nighttime routine of, okay, the bedtime routine started. My younger one, I could leave in the tub and I would watch him, or, I also had my routine too, because I would do the laundry. I would start doing the daily laundry at like 7 o'clock at night. So, hey, Damon, can you watch Michael in the tub? Bathroom doors open. He's playing in the tub. I'm going to go put a load of laundry in. I come back. And, and they knew the routine. And it was the little ones. The younger you were, you're the first one to go. First one in the tub. And then, anyway, it was a routine. And that stability made for a very peaceful household. Like, people are, oh, you have 4 kids? I got another one in there. I have a 5th one in there. Yeah, it was peaceful because it was managed. I was in control of the schedule. I was in control of the entertainment. My kids never said they were, well, I can say this. One time, one of my kids said, I was bored. I'm bored. And I'm like, ooh, we got to handle that. So I'm like,
What
look,
did you do? What did
Well,
you
I'm
do to
like,
handle
there's
it?
art supplies. I go, first of all, my job is not to supply your entertainment.
Yeah.
That's yours. You have Legos, we have this, we have that, you have this. So I just made that even more available, like put more focus on that. And that handled that. Like that didn't come up ever again. And so, it's like now you go through my house and you see these little Sculpey clay that you bake in the oven of these ridiculous figures that my boys made. They're boys. So when they were 8, 9, and 10, I remember when I turned 42. I'm 61 now. When I turned 42, my son made me an old lady with a cane out of clay. And I'm like, Adam, he goes, purely a coincidence. And I'm like, it is not. It is not. But anyway, that was funny. But the point is what you were saying. It's like, yeah, kids need sleep. Like, I'll tell you, it's like sometimes at my school, we just had a student that unfortunately I did not accept in my school. It was a little boy, and it's just not the right fit. My school is not the right fit for everybody. It's a small school. There's no playground. The kids are in a groove. Like, they can work. They don't need like space to run around. Anyway, and the parents were not happy that I didn't accept their ADHD child. But the first time I met the child, he's eating an ice cream cone that's 2 full scoops.
Oh,
And I'm like, what are you doing? And in the meantime, like my school is small, and on Wednesdays, you don't have to wear a uniform, you pay $1. And then I use that money to get bird seed because we feed birds every morning. It's like we'll make $12 a day. So while this child is like literally covered in ice cream, the little sister is taking the money out of the jar and the parents are right there. And I'm like, okay, there's no control. Like, and I understand they're little. They're 4, 5, or 6 or whatever. But I'm like, my 4-year-old, when I went into someone's house, knew he couldn't go touching your stuff. How did they know that? Because I told them. And if they didn't obey me, I was holding their hand and saying, no, that's not yours. I mean, that's part of parenting. Language, feet off the sofa. Where'd this football come from? Put it away. Hey, dishes, like that. That's part of being the mom. But anyway, I get off track. It's just sad to see what these kids are fed or not fed, and they're not set up for learning, on top of already having a school system that I will swear to is not out for learning either. It's an indoctrination center. It's a labeling center. It's how we can find out all the things that are wrong with you and just let's put it in writing and make it nice and solid and make sure you know that you aren't adequate. And that's a crime.
yeah.
There is no anyway, and that's why I wrote, all right, so now I'm going to get to this book. First of all, I write the way I talk. And in the beginning of the book, it says note to reader. And it says there, I'm not trying, like I'm sure some college professor is going to find many things wrong with my grammar. And I'm like, I'm telling a story, not trying to get a PhD. And I don't use big words because I don't know any. It was kind of like a joke. But I'm like, I'm telling the story of what happened to me and my son. And it's not like every chapter is about me and my son. It starts off friendly enough. I tell you where I'm from. I tell you how my parents met, which was all baseball in Cincinnati, and a couple of little stories. And then so you get a feel for who I am. And then I talk about my son. And then I talk about when I was in the 4th grade that I had a teacher who, if you could picture from the Cosby Show, Mrs. Huxtable, that was my teacher in the 4th grade. Wonderful, wonderful woman. Um, and we read this book, one of our readers, a reader, it has different stories in it. And then there's questions and answers at the end, and you read a story a week or whatever. And the title of this story was Set Me Free. And it had a picture of a girl in old-fashioned clothing hugging, which you assume to be the mother. And it was Helen Keller. And it just floored me. I'm like, how can you teach somebody who can't see, hear, or speak? How can you teach them words?
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
And, yes. And like, it really resonated with me. And, it's like we would have our reading group, and then you discuss the story. And this one boy was like, how did Anne Sullivan, why was she so, I'm sure he didn't use this word, but I'll put it out there. Why was she so persistent with Helen? And my teacher, I remember this, like, because she loved her the same way I love you, which was huge, huge. And here's a Black woman teaching white kids. Nobody cared. My parents didn't care. My classmates didn't care. This lady was phenomenal. And she brought this, again, it resonated with me, this story. So then in my book, I talk about it. And then I talk about my beautiful boy. And he's a beautiful boy. He's a beautiful boy who speaks 2 languages, who's respectful, who all the neighbors know, who all the family are like, oh, Damon, oh my God. It's like, it's a love fest that this kid gets. Even though I ended up divorcing my first husband, my kids never saw me argue with him. They knew nothing but love. And to this day, I just had dinner with my ex-husband and Damon and his sister and Damon's girlfriend for Damon's 41st birthday. We go out all the time. It's like, there's no friction. The 2 children that I had in my second marriage, which I'll save that story for Oprah, consider my first husband their father. And he is super close with them from the time they were teeny tiny. Again, that's part of that management, because no matter why my marriage failed or whatever, that's not on the kids. That's on me and my husband. That was our decision. And I really don't like when because I have a school, I've had a school for 30 something years now, where a parent comes in, it's like, oh, my wife, blah, 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 my ex-wife, that's why I divorced her. And their 7-year-old is listening to all of this. And I'm like, come on, show some class. Show some class. He doesn't need to hear that because you're trying to win him over in a tug of war. That's actually pretty sick. Like, grow up for the 5 minutes that this boy is or this girl is in your presence. Don't talk bad about the father. Don't talk bad about the mother. I don't care if they ended up in jail. Tell that child that the mother loves them more than anything, and they'll believe it. When I compare, so I have this very impactful moment in the 4th grade with Helen Keller. And then my son goes to school. And 10 days in, they say he's mentally handicapped. And I'm like, oh my God, people, stop it already. He's not. He can see, he can speak 2 languages, and he can hear. And we're going to drug him? I'm like, Helen Keller wasn't even drugged. I'm like, I think somebody needs to do their job. And I had somebody I had a person who was reading the book reach out to me. And they're like, Barbie, I'm because on the BarbieRivera.com, you can email me. Like, I do pick up the emails. It's like, I just finished chapter 2. I don't even know who you are. No idea who Damon is. But my heart sank when the school system moved to label him. I was right there with you. And I'm like, great, because that's really what I want to convey in this in this book is I want to have facts with the story. Because otherwise it's just dry. Oh, the school system's bad. Okay, yeah, any spectator can say that and be accurate. Like, I mean, there's 100 reasons why to not like a school, probably including my school. But that's all spectator. And I don't want to be a spectator. I want to give you what to look for. Good, you're going to enroll your child in a school and the bulletin boards are super pretty and they got a playground and it's all this gloss and lipstick and all of this. But what's actually going to happen to your child is they're going to get destroyed. They're going to get shut down. They're going to be passed when they can't read. And they know it. They know that their education is useless by the time they're 8, 9, and 10. They know they can't do it. They know. So I wrote the book, one, to who am I? What am I? I'm a regular person with children. Then I take you through part 2, which is like a horror story. Each chapter, a different topic. And then part 3 is how I solved it. And what I ultimately want to do with the rest of my life to not just solve it for me and the 50 kids that I have in my school, but to actually reverse the decline in American education. And I know that that's a big statement, but the truth of the matter is the politicians aren't going to solve it. I don't care who you voted for. The educators aren't going to solve it. The college degrees are not going to solve it. It would have been solved by now because the education system is so wrapped up with the pharmaceutical companies and the textbook companies that are in bed with the whole thing that it's going to be an outside the box. Mm-hmm. It's got to be completely outside of the box. So over COVID, this is when I really got on this, because I could say, hey, pat on the back. My kids are grown. They're all great. They're successful. I have no retirement because it's like homeschooling isn't like, oh, let me get a Lamborghini. I know I'll homeschool. It's like, that's not the way to do it. Or start a micro school. Again, I pay my bills, but not much more. It's not glamorous. I have 2 beautiful dogs. My kids are great. My apartment looks good. So I'm okay, but it's not, okay, let me now save the world as a cliche, right? So over COVID, I'm like, okay, I'm losing sleep over what am I going to do about these kids coming in that don't know anything? And the parents think, oh, they got an A on their report card. I'm like, I don't care about the A. Have them bake muffins. Have them read a recipe and bake muffins. Even if it's the box cake where you just have to add water. Like it's about as low as you can go. I'm not even talking about something from scratch. They can't do it. They just can't. So the education is a problem, and it's a problem for people expanding businesses. It's a problem for me because I can't hire certified teachers because they haven't been certified on how to teach. And I have examples of that. It's like somebody who can't take a message or write a sentence. You can't really employ that person and have them take part of the workload so that it can turn into a profitable activity. Even though my school is nonprofit, I need to make more than I spend. Like that's just basic business. You bring in more money than you spend. Okay, you're doing okay. Anyway, so I started digging, and one of the earliest statistics I could find on American literacy was in 1913. It was considered that the statistic was 97% of Americans were literate. And they were going from 6th grade to adult. Because you really don't check the literacy of a 4th grader. It doesn't, that doesn't factor in. But 6th grade and above. And this is 1913. And it was considered that the American school system was so strong that it could wipe out worldwide illiteracy. And I'm like, well, that's intense. That's great. And of the 3% that weren't literate, they never went to school. They stayed on the farms. They stayed working the farms. So we can account for them. But it was the majority that were literate in this country. And again, I'm going to bring up a religious reference, which I'm not married to a religion or religious reference, but this is just how it was. Like the Constitution was founded on the belief of God. That was how it was founded. Reading was developed so that people could read the Word of God. That's just why it was so important, and that goes back to the 1500s. So when I look at 1913, what was the purpose of school? It was to turn out adults, one, that were strong family leaders, mothers and fathers. Okay, good. They were quick-witted, with entrepreneurship potential. Perfect. Moms could run the house, dads made the money. Okay, non-traditional by today's standards, but still pro-survival. And they were right with God. So there was a moral expectancy, right? And again, I'm not saying that everybody was moral and all of these things. It was never perfect, nor will it ever be perfect. But that was the purpose of education. And I'm like, bingo. It was future and it was survival. And I'm like, thank you. So again, going back to this, like my very limited view of business is what creates the statistic going up will always create it again. Like the people that sell Christmas trees, they don't do anything for 7 months out of the year because they know they have a season, and when they sell the Christmas trees or they gather or whatever they do, it ends up on Christmas trees being bought in November and December. And they are set for the year, so to speak. Anyway, I started buying textbooks from the mid 1800s to the early 1900s, reading, writing, math, civics, manners, science, spelling. And these books are fantastic. Like the literacy level alone of an 8th grader in 1920 and 1930 even surpasses what I see coming out of colleges. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, what if I do a plan? What if I turn my school over to my daughter, very capable hands? And what if I dive into bringing these textbooks back to life? Now, there's many things in these textbooks that are out of date. It'll say Tommy bought a whistle and a lollipop and a harmonica for 10 cents. I'm like, that's just not going to happen today. Right. But it could be Mr. Mouse bought a blueberry for 1 penny. Like, it just needs to be changed. You have words like gay that back in the day meant lively and entertaining and fun. We're not going to use that word because I'm not going to go up against that. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we're not going to use that word because it means something else now. But I want to take the reading, writing, and math back to how it used to be. Like phonics right now is not phonics. I don't care. You go to Barnes & Noble, it says phonics. It's not phonics. It just isn't. And the challenge is finding things that were published that were in writing as early as you can go. So I have searches on various sites, eBay, Etsy, thrift books. I have saved searches. And sometimes I find gems. And there's a couple of things back in this time period that the viewpoint alone clashes with modern day. It's completely the opposite. For example, kindergarten was on a 90% to 10% equation, depending on how long that child was in school, because kindergarten would run half day or full day. Only 10% of the time that child was in school was seat work. He was only allowed to sit in a chair with a pencil or a crayon for 10% of the day. The 90%, he's supposed to be out, singing, creating, looking at leaves, watching squirrels, go to how did the truck build a house? Like, it was out. It wasn't inward. It was outward. They were building things. They were turning milk cartons into cities. It's like, and it was all very structured. But it was 10% of the day was seat work. Now we have kindergartners that are supposed to sit all day, and if they can't, they're labeled ADHD. They're drugged. So then there's another concept was you don't find many textbooks for first, second, and third grade because they simply didn't exist. The powers that be at the turn of the century frowned upon giving kinder, first, second, and third graders textbook for fear of overwhelming them with significance, therefore squashing their natural love of learning. So you still had in the third grade, maybe it was 50-50 on the activity to seat work, but it was this still very easy day for the student. And the focus was on mastery. So in third grade, for example, they didn't introduce parts of speech until fourth grade because they wanted the student to have a grip of just writing. And all that they were required to do was the first letter of a sentence is a capital letter, names of people and places, proper nouns are capital letters, and sentences end with a period and question mark. They didn't even get into the exclamation mark. And I'm like, thank you. Because that gives the child wins, because that was also part of the philosophy. You lose them if they lose. We lose them if they lose.
Wow. Yeah.
And now it's just let's take all the losses and bundle them up and put them on an IEP, an individual educational plan or program or whatever it's called in the state you're in. Make it nice and solid and official, and let's get your parent, oh, he's ADHD. He doesn't follow directions. I'm like, so how's he going to, do you expect this person to ever get a driver's license? Oh, of course, I'm going to buy him a car. How are you going to do that? When does he start following directions? When do you start insisting on that? Oh, well, he doesn't sleep well. Okay, maybe cut out the ice cream. Maybe. Do something. But there's, it's like the parents that I'm speaking about are just parrots, and they've just surrendered to the psychiatric ideology that there's something wrong with their child when their child can't sit still for 8 hours. My kids wouldn't follow directions either. My son, on the example I gave about taking a shower, if I would have left it up to him, his bed would have been like the whole house would have been filthy. But I'm not going to leave it up to him. It's not up to him. My son, kids are kids. He turned 10 and he goes, somebody gave him $50. And he goes, Mom, I want to get a tattoo. I'm like, you're not getting a tattoo. we can get the temporary tattoos. No problem with temporary tattoos. He goes, I want to get tattoos. I'm like, tell you what, when you turn 18, you can get tattoos all over your forehead. I don't care. And again, by the time 3 weeks go by, he's not thinking of it. He's a child. And I was like, no, I'll get you temporary tattoos. You can have all those you want. And he'd wear all of them. Like, he was like, I once got him, I made the mistake of getting him Spider-Man Band-Aids. He goes, oh, Mom, can I have Spider-Man Band-Aids? He was like 5. I'm like, sure. We'll put him in the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. Here's your, with right along with your toothbrush. In the bathroom, I keep one of those plastic shoe container holders, like on the back of the door or whatever. I used to use one for my daughter's Barbie dolls. Instead of shoes, she would put her Barbie dolls. It kept it super organized. Anyway, my son comes out of the bathroom. He has every Band-Aid that was in the package on all available skin that was, he's wearing shorts. So it's his legs, his arms, his face, and his neck. And I'm like, well, okay, next time I will give him 3 and keep the Band-Aids well out of reach. But he's a kid. And I find that funny. He's a kid. But he's not going to make the decisions. He doesn't get to decide, oh, I'm not going to take a bath when I'm filthy. I'm like, no, you're taking a bath. I don't want to brush my teeth. Don't care. You're going to brush your teeth. And eventually, they start taking control over these things where they don't have to be told to take a bath. It's natural. They don't have to be told to make up their bed because they do it. And that, to me, that's the easy part. And to me, the education is the easy part too. So when I go back to like how I homeschooled my kids, I used older books and a dictionary. Like, what's the definition of geography? Geo means earth, graphy means to draw. And then they're like, oh. And so when we were learning about light in science, and that the unit of light is photons, my 10-year-old is like, oh, photography, drawing with light. I'm like, exactly. And they sounded like little geniuses. And it was just that they knew what words meant. And people, my gosh, people would hear them. They're like, wow, you must have a degree. I'm like, I don't. I have a Webster's dictionary.
Yes.
And some common sense.
I love that. I can't tell you how many times I've heard like, well, you don't have a degree in this. How are you going to teach him math? It's like, well, I'm going to have a book, and the book, I'm going to go through the book with him. And, I can look things up on the internet if I need to, and I can find experts if I need to and ask them. It's
right.
The idea being that the older they get, the more responsible they become for their own education. And it's already started. My son kind of picks topics he's excited about, and he goes down his own rabbit holes. And I'm along for the ride. I get like a TED Talk every day. I probably get about 5 TED Talks a day. And he comes up to me and he's like, I bought him this thing we're hanging on the wall. And then one of the words on it is smile. It's a mosaic. It's a cross, and it's a mosaic, and the word smile is inside it. And he goes, did you know that the saber-toothed tiger's scientific name is Smilosaurus or something, Smilodon or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, are you kidding me? And then I looked it up, and he was right. And he's like, and he had this whole, again, TED Talk about why it was the way it was. And he starts telling me these other Latin words, the word smile is, a common word now, but he starts telling me like, yes, and you must know about this Latin phrase and this Latin phrase, because he's been digging into dinosaurs and history and ancient history, and it's so much fun. Like, it's so much fun.
Yeah, and that's
just,
what's
like,
You're not forcing it down his throat.
No,
he's
he's forcing it down my throat. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, but that's what it is. I'll tell you, my son, one of my kids, he was like 16, and the tall one. And by this time, I had a high school with 14 kids in it. And on the weekend, I swear, all 14 of those kids were in my house. Well, we're experiencing a tropical storm. I'm at the school. The kids are at the house. And I come home. My youngest one has a guitar, and they're singing songs and whatever. And my oldest one, I'm like, what's happening? He's like, Mom, I'm making a New York style cheesecake from scratch. It's going to take me about 8 hours because certain things have to freeze, like the graham cracker crust. Anyway, the whole house was full of these teenagers. It was like, I was like, oh my God. And I don't want to comment on it because I don't want to ruin it. But I'm like, this is amazing. And it's boys and girls. There's nobody being weird. None of the girls are wearing like bikini tops with low cut. Like they're good kids. Yeah. And he's making cheesecake, and this one's singing songs, and Two other ones have my art supplies, and I had a rule, just on a side note, because I have a lot of art supplies. I'm like, look, you are welcome to use whatever. But whatever you do, if you're going to do something major, I get something for my Christmas tree. So you can imagine my Christmas tree looks like a garage sale exploded on it, because it's all these little things that kids have done at various ages to, oh, I'm going to paint a little wooden bird. Well, Barbie wants something, so I'm going to paint something for her. And I love it, because it's all, you look at the little date on it. I go, I need your name, first name and date on it. And so I have all of these unique little sculptures in my house, and some of it goes in a frame with a picture. Yeah, anyway, it's nice. And personally, and I know that other parents have not been as lucky as I am. I never had my kids never went through the teenage drama where, oh, they're going to hate you when they become a teenager. They didn't do it. They didn't get into drugs and alcohol. They just didn't do it. They were making money when they were early. Like the education, I'm like, look, this education has to serve you. It's not, oh, when you go to college, because that's like 9 years from now.
Right.
Right now, it serves you. And I remember my youngest son, he was 14, and he had bought a secondhand drum kit. And it wasn't that great. And he comes out of his room, he goes, Mom, I need a new drum kit. I'm like, okay, well, how much is that? He goes, there's a refurbished one for $1,800. And I'm like, I don't have $1,800. He goes, no. I'm gonna work for it. But could you do something? I'm like, yeah, your birthday's coming up. I'll do 6. So he sits down with me. My other kids all tutored at the school. And at that time, we're going back several years, they would make $25 an hour. So my son's like, I don't want to do that. That's going to take too long. But I don't know what I can do. I'm like, I have an idea for you. You can juggle. Like, he was brilliant at math, taught himself to juggle, and taught himself to drum. And to me, they're all related. Like, it makes sense that they're all related. And he came up with a recipe for chocolate chip cookies just randomly. I'm like, put out a flyer at school, charge $5 an hour, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and see what happens. He was making $100 a week, working 2 hours a week.
What was he doing?
Teaching them how to juggle. He had 10 kids, and he had them standing up against tables so that when their bean bags would fall, they didn't have to bend over. And the parents were thrilled because it was $5, so they could pick their kids up an hour later for $5. And he got 10 students, so he's making $50 an hour, twice a week. And he did it for 8 weeks. We put it on their report cards, and the kids were getting good. He goes, this is hand-eye coordination, and you don't need anybody else to help you with it, but you do need to practice. It got them off of their devices. And we actually saw those kids that were in the juggling class, their grades went up. Because, because again, it's an indirect way of getting them to focus.
Yeah, and building that part of the brain.
That's right. And they loved it. And then Michael started doing one-on-one drum lessons, and he charged $20 an hour because he could only do it with one student. He had a couple of students. Parents were like, man, I hear my son in the garage and I can hear him improving. That's great. And, and they're helping a teenager out, blah, blah, blah. But my son ended up getting his drum kit, but he earned it. He was not like, oh, if only you weren't a single mom. He wasn't being a little victim about it. He was like, okay, can you help me? Birthday's coming. What can you do? Blah, blah, blah. And now let me figure out how I can get this done. And I think it took him, I think he had his drum kit by Christmas. So it was a good 2 months, but he was on it.
Has he done different things after that? Has he figured out other ways to be resourceful?
Oh, yeah. But then he was like, oh, I can tutor somebody on math. He could do all sorts of things. The point is when he was a kid, he was already thinking with that. And like you say, your son does a deep dive. My other son, twice before he was 5, and he was homeschooled all the way. Damon, I took out of school and homeschooled him. So Damon was the only one that had the public school experience, which it took me 2 years to undo the public school experience. My other 3 never felt they were stupid, and they just moved like lightning. So my one son, twice before he was 5, birds, like wild birds, landed on his body. One was a crow, one was a sparrow. And I'm like, okay, this guy's got a gift. I wish it was a different gift, but that's not mine to choose. So he would always come home with a snake. Yeah, neighborhood cat had this snake in its mouth. So I'm like, okay, Adam, we got to do something here. I invested in 2 tanks. He had 2 55-gallon tanks, like bunk beds, on wrought iron stands. So it looked decent in my living room. It didn't look like a garage. It was aesthetic. The top part were his pets, stuff that we would buy, his little lizards that we would buy at a pet store. And the bottom was a hospital. And for every animal he nurtured back to health, which he didn't win all of them. Some of them he lost, some of them passed. But for every one he nurtured back to health that he released into the woods, I'd pay him $3. And 1 month he made $30, and he was 6. You know, if he found a frog that was in a puddle with oil on it, he would put it in the hospital and put distilled water on it and then empty the distilled water every day and kind of like detox the frog. I let him do it. I didn't do anything other than provide the tank for him. And he's like, okay, he's ready to go. There's no more oil coming out of his skin. Like, he made that connection. I did not have to. This is now not my activity. You know, he has to figure it out. And then by the time he was 10, on his own, he read about 250 books about animals. And he asked me one day, which I should have known. I should have been alert. Mom, where's the lemonade container? And I'm like, oh, it's next to the cereal boxes. He comes in half an hour later, 71 black widow spiders in the container. And I'm like, Adam? He goes, yeah, there's egg sacs in there too. I'm like, Adam? He goes, well, you taught me to read. Black widows are not aggressive. They like to be in dark places where people don't go. So I found that in the yard because they are in Florida. And he goes, and I have them. I'm like, okay, well, we can't keep them. So let's call the Miami Museum of Science. And they were thrilled because they had just lost their last black widow colony. So I'm like, okay, I'm taking my son. So these guys, it was hilarious, actually. So my son's sitting in the back seat with the lemonade jar with the lid on it. And out come 3 guys in hazmat suits. And Adam just rolled his eyes. And they are like, how did your mom let you get this? And he goes, I never tell my mom about black widows till it's done. And then they were like, how did you get them all? And Adam, at that, Adam was like, you know, whatever. He goes, well, I had a ruler and I held the lemonade container underneath the web. And with the ruler, I went tap, tap, tap. Like he's talking to them like they're 3 years old. And when we pull away, and anyway, for all I know, their black widows are still going. He goes, Mom, for scientists, they're kind of dumb. Like, it's pretty obvious, you know. Anyway, it was funny. But he did that. You know, he did that. He rescued an endangered bird. And it just fell. I don't even know where this bird came from. It fell out of the sky. He was playing football in the front, a Nerf ball with his little friends. And this egret, it looks like a stork, fell out of the sky, landed in front of him. Its wing was broken. And Adam was like, Daniel, go in my house, get a dish towel. Justin, there's a big rubber band on my doorknob. Bring them both, get my mom. And he put the dish towel over the bird's neck, put a loose rubber band to hold the dish towel, and he held the bird in such a way that its wing was in the correct position. And I'm like, he's 10. And we took it to some wildlife guy who picked it up and, who knows? He's like, yeah, we can fix this. And I'm like, perfect. That's what education is supposed to lead to. It's not this drudgery of passing a test or doing a book report and all of, and I get it. Tests are important. We need to test. We do need tests. We do need book reports at times, but it shouldn't be this drudgery, suffering, authoritative activity. It,
Yes.
it just shouldn't. And if I would have done that with my son, my first one, I would have lost him. I already
Yeah.
lost him and he was 6. He'd already checked out. He was stupid, he knew it, and there was no reason to go to school. There was no reason to get up in the morning. He lost the joy that he had with his brothers. He even stopped annoying his little sister. Like, aren't you going to prank her? Like, he would jump out and scare her. He stopped doing that, like being an annoying older brother. But he just stopped. He just withdrew into himself. And it was really hard to watch. So again, I go back to this book. I'm like, okay, how am I going to finance bringing back all of these materials? Because right now, I have about 500 books, lesson plans from the mid 1800s to the early 1900s. 500 workbooks, pamphlets, things that had practically disintegrated. And I want to bring it back. Like, I want that a parent, like, here's my dream. A parent's like, okay, I'm going to homeschool my 3rd grader. And I go, okay, here's what you need: reading, writing, math, handwriting. I don't know how far I can get into science. If I could do it all, I would do it all. But we're talking more than a Friday bake sale at the school is going to finance, because I can't do that on my own. And I really don't want to be the executive director of a publishing company. I want to write. I want to be like the Rapunzel, turning straw into gold, and let somebody else figure out the marketing. Let somebody else figure out, okay, the technology on it, because I don't even want to do that. The plus is I have a lot of it like formulated. It's not in any kind of a published form yet. But for example, with the math, my again, going back to my youngest son, when he was 5, I guess it was like 1996, he hated all the math books. So after he went to bed, I would do 3 or 4 pages of math, and I would just draw it by hand. And I illustrate it. My illustrations are good. My numbers are good. You can tell, like, I'm really clean on that. And he would do it. And his math ended up being super strong. So I saved all of those illustrations. I have 35 years, actually over that, 40 years of illustrations, which just last week, I screenshot one. I asked AI to turn it into an emoji. And I'm like, I'm in love. Now, somebody who knows what they're doing can take that and really do something with it, because I have that slow gradient. I have the word problems that I developed myself, but now I have the guide of all of these books from the early 1900s, which are, and again, the philosophy back then was education has to impact the child's life. So it wasn't this just random word problems. It was actually things that would apply to day-to-day life back then. Your friend has 5 marbles, you give him 2, he wins 2 marbles in a game. How many does he have? Okay, great. It wasn't this esoteric whatever. And like the modern textbooks are just awful. And I give examples of them. I cite them in my book. Just awful. because what they're doing is they're saying, "Oh, we're applying critical thinking," and I'm like, I'm going to say a bad word. I'm like, what you're doing is bullshit. When it says like 15 plus 29, you add the ones, carry the 10, and then you add it. That is no longer done. It's like add 15 plus 29 by taking a 5 from the 15 to add to the 5 from the 9, and 5 plus 5 equals 10. Now you have the 4. It's like that. And if the child doesn't do it that way, which is now rebranded as critical thinking, even if they have the answer right, if they don't go through all of that nonsense, their answers are wrong. Now, when they do multiplication, there are like 9 evaluations you do. Like if you do 5 times 4, well, did you figure that out by a graph? Did you do it by this? I don't even remember what they are. But I'm like, what the heck is this? How about just what's 5 times 4? How about just that? Or make 4 rings of Play-Doh, put 5 balls in each, count them up. That's 5 times 4. Like hands-on. But it's just not done anymore.
Yeah. Homeschooling for the most part is so hands-on. It obviously depends on the parent and what kind of materials they're choosing. But I've been pretty immersed in the homeschool community. We've been part of 2 different co-ops, and I actually run a homeschooling group of now it's over 650 moms just in my area, and it's we don't all get together at the same time. Like that's I want to preface that we're not like 650 moms, but it's like we do weekly meetups, play dates at playgrounds, because I believe, in that unschooling level of kids should be touching dirt every day kind of thing.
I agree.
And they should be, that concept of socializing is like first of all, and I apologize for sounding like I'm, I don't know, belittling people who don't know anything about homeschooling or people who public school. It's the first question everyone asks. It's like, as a vegan, you get asked, well, where's your protein? How do you get your protein? I'm like, you don't see, just because someone's vegan doesn't mean they're skin and bones. It's like, how
exactly.
You don't ask a cow where it gets its protein or the gorilla where it gets its protein, because you can get amino acids from plants and then your body synthesizes them, right? So, but same with children. Children naturally socialize, and it is actually backwards to put children in a very artificial environment. When, as an adult, have you ever been segregated by your age?
Right.
That doesn't exist in nature, right? When you work at the post office, you're working with a 65-year-old and an 18-year-old and a 55-year-old, and you're working with, people of the same sex and people of the opposite sex, and they're all different ages and different, classes, right? Different socioeconomic backgrounds. Like when we get into the workforce, we have to be able to mingle with a variety of people who think differently than us.
Yep.
And not all think the same. And that's a problem with the school system. One problem is that it is conformity in how we teach children to think all the same. And we don't. People don't think all the same. But we've got to teach kids how to respect differences. And so what I love about homeschooling is my kid plays with, if he's 10, his best friend is turning 14. Best friend in the world. He's got friends that are 6. He plays with them both differently, obviously, depending on the kid. He's got friends of many different ages, and they all learn how to get along with each other, and they all learn about each other's differences and what they, capabilities and, maybe weaknesses and strengths. So when homeschoolers get together, that's their version of socializing. It's normal. It's a reflection of what's out there, what they're going to find out in the workforce.
Right.
And in public schools, you're segregated. And I remember growing up in public school, like if I was in the 4th grade, I didn't like the 5th graders, and I thought 3rd graders, sucked because they were, they're younger, ew. And the older ones are, whatever. And it's like it's by 1 year, right? And which just that's so very artificial. But this concept of like, well, how do you socialize your child? I'm like, he he talks to adults all the time. He's super talkative. If he meets a kid, he's talking to the kid like he's playing, and that's just it. We just go and do things, just go and do stuff, and you don't have to be out there every day because like some parents they work jobs, and I know plenty of homeschoolers who they figure out they like okay when mom's working the kids are with grandma or the kids are with dad, and then when dad's working the kids with mom, and so they all figure out just how to make it work.
Right.
And some families can make it work with two working parents. They just
Yes.
have to, that's where co-ops come in. That's where like small like homeschool schools come in, or homeschool like pods come in. There's many different ways to do it because I have a friend has been a single mom forever. She never married the dad. He didn't want anything to do with the child, and so she just loved the crap. I mean, she still loves the crap out of her kid, and she is and I always want to see a child with two parents, obviously, like that
Sure.
would be ideal. She is twice the parent most parents are. Like I just watched her in awe, and she works a full-time job. Luckily can work from home,
Hmm.
and she homeschools her kid, and she does what you say. Like if your kid refuses to go to the bath, she grabs her kid, not to hurt him, but grabs him
Yeah.
and brings him into the bathtub with her, and is like, nope, you're taking a shower right now. And if he doesn't eat his dinner, she goes, well, that dinner's going to be sitting in the fridge, and when you're hungry, you're going to eat it, and the next day for breakfast, that is your breakfast. Like she just holds her ground, and he is an amazing kid. So smart, so respectful, so resourceful. And this is the kind of thing, it's like I see single moms who go, oh, I couldn't homeschool because I'm a single mom. And I'm like, you got to get creative. You got to get resourceful. You
Yep.
got to plug into communities. Like we have it so easy now with Facebook. You can get into Facebook groups. There's forums online. You get into local groups. You just start chatting with other moms who are there, and you can there's so many ways you can figure out. Another myth I want to cover is that homeschooling families are middle class. They have established a certain amount of wealth that they can afford it.
Oh,
Most
not at all.
yeah.
Not at all.
We're
Oh my
like,
gosh. Not at all.
most homeschoolers that I know are below middle class, in terms of like they're
Yep.
living month to month, but they've sacrificed because they see that homeschooling is more important than that extra, 20 grand they're going to earn or whatever, right? That would maybe make their lives a bit more comfortable, but you're allowing so much chaos to enter your child's life as a result. Now, certain kids seem to be okay in the school system. They're the type of learners that like middle of the road. You know what I mean? Like there's certain kids that like, or I've had friends. Well, I was an A+ student in school. Like I don't know why you don't. And it's like, listen, it's not for everyone. But if your
Yep.
kid's shutting down, if your kid is falling behind, if your kid is being bullied, and that's another thing I love about homeschooling. I just went to a homeschooling conference, and the WHO was there, which is the Washington Homeschool Organization, and it's our advocacy organization here in Washington that every few years has to go to bat, hire lawyers, and fight for our rights. And Washington State is the best state, personally, I believe, to homeschool in because we have the least amount of government restrictions imposed upon us,
Hmm.
and we protect that, like viciously protect that. And so the leader, her name is Jen, she was giving a speech, and she said homeschooling is for everyone. You will be sitting in a homeschool conference, and you will have a orthodox, religious person, right? Christian or
Hmm.
what, or Muslim. Will have a Muslim Orthodox beside the Christian Orthodox, beside the atheist, beside the LGBT
Yep.
people, and we are like this is homeschooling is for everyone. It's not something that's only for a certain flavor of person. It is to enrich the not only the child, but for me as a parent. And it's not easy. I'm not in any way saying it's like the easier route. I fantasize almost on a weekly basis, like just go put my kid in public school, and that would be so much easier, right? Like just like
Yep.
have these difficulties be someone else's job. But the amount of personal growth and the enrichment that I get as a parent watching my kid like just take off, just flourish, just bloom, blossom. You can't buy that. And your
Right.
kid's going to be an adult in the blink of an eye, and your influence is going to be is waning very quickly. But you have this short time when you have a child, K through 12 in your midst, to enrich them and to guide them, and watch them grow, and it's not just for them, it's for you as a parent as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Have you seen the book, The Smartest Kids in the World?
No.
Okay, so I love this book. I read it. It feels like forever ago. I don't care. When did it come out? I want to say 15 years ago. Yeah. Okay. 2014. So not 15 years ago, but still, it's really interesting. So the author goes around and goes to Finland, Poland, South Korea, and of course America, and examines what's going on. How is our education system different from these other countries, and how is it similar, and what kind of like
Hmm.
learners are they producing? And if you as a listener are like starting to see like, well, maybe my child isn't being served in this public school, or if you're maybe like ignoring the red flags, and it because it's the thing is it's golden handcuffs, like
Yes, that's a good way
having,
of putting it.
right, like it keeps your child like relatively safe. It's not, your child's not on the street, right? Like your child's in a
Right.
school, it's free babysitting, they're going to learn something. If it was good enough for me, it's good enough for them. I have to go to work 40, 50 hours a week, and so it's golden handcuffs, right?
Yep.
But you start to ignore those little red flags, like your kid comes home crying or bruised or emotionally bruised, or your kid comes home starting to have beliefs about themselves, or you just start to see their light going out, and you keep going like, well, if it was, or the school tries to put them on drugs or whatever, right? It was good enough for me, it's good enough for my kid, and I have to go to school, I have to go to work while they go to school, and this is just how it is, this is just what it's done, right? Because homeschooling isn't it wasn't, at least before COVID, in the consciousness, right? The
Right.
cultural consciousness. It's so funny when I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, we homeschooled. And then it turns out like, yeah, it was during 2020. I'm like, okay, well, sitting in front of a computer like for
Yeah,
6 to 8 hours
exactly.
while the teacher tried to teach them over Zoom, in which they had zero training on, zero, like it was all fly by the seat. I was friends with some teachers, and they were like fly by the seat of their pants. There was no training, there was no studies, right? There was nothing backing them. It was like, you're used to doing this you're used to doing this subpar education in person, now do it over Zoom, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And that's not homeschooling, that's just being at home while the public school system is still trying to teach your kid, not
Yep.
homeschooling. So where I'm going with this is this particular book, fascinating, talks about Finland, probably out of all the education systems they examine, being the best. And the reason being, we look at the culture of the teachers. First of all, they don't have curriculums or like textbooks that they must do. And I think that's phenomenal. Second, when a teacher studies to become a teacher, they must become an expert of something. So, you believe it or not, in America, and I think the same in Canada and other countries, you can just get a general like degree in education and be like the gym teacher and the math teacher, but not have a degree in math, not be a
Yes.
specialist in that subject. You can teach any subject. You just have to have like a general education, degree. So whereas in Finland, you have to specialize. So let's say you're passionate about math, you're great at math, you get a degree in math, then you shadow for an extended period of time. You shadow a math teacher and basically be an assistant for a year or more.
Yep.
And then as your first year alone, the people are watching you, and the well established teachers with experience get to sit in the back of the room and give you, critique you to get better. And the whole concept is, I want to be the best I can be at being a teacher. They don't send the kids home with homework. and they get to decide what books they use. They get to decide what curriculum they use. So it is really each classroom is that teacher trying to get the most out of their students and trying to help the students with all the tools they could possibly find, because one kid might need a different tool than another kid, right?
Right.
Because they're all at different places.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so different from here, because here it's like cookie cutter factory, factory line production. Spit them out, just make them. It used to be make them good little factory workers. They systematically took critical thinking out of the education system 150 years ago. They taught it for thousands of years. They taught the trivium and the quadrivium thousands of years, like over 2,000 years. And they took it out of the Prussian education system when developing what we now have, our modern, education system here in the United States and Canada and other similar countries. It is taught in like Jesuit seminaries and like, super elite places, but it's also taught by a lot of homeschoolers. And the concept is teach kids how to think. Don't just make them memorize facts. If they learn how to think, they can get the answers for themselves. Right. So that's where it is. Like if we teach kids how to think and how to be problem solvers and how to maximize their ability to solve problems, they'll be able to figure out how to solve the problem. And we want to teach them resources. Right. Because, I don't care if my kid, when he's 45 years old, is like memorize some math thing. I want him to be resourceful. Right. I want him to be able to, like, if he's on the side of the road and he doesn't have any money and his card, like his cell phone's dead and his tire's flat, like, how's he going to solve that? You know what I mean? Like, what's he going to do? How is he going to navigate the world to solve these things? And how is he going to navigate the world to be the best person he can be, to be the most helpful, loving, member of society that he can be? And so that's where it's like, we can't rely on a government funded system to turn out the most amazing people, right? Like
that's right.
That is, you will never, no one will ever love your kids more than you do. You know what I mean? Like you have got, that's why I love homeschooling. It's hard and it's so worth it. And
it is. And
you can do it in so many different capacities. So you didn't really tell us about your school, the advent of your school. Did you create your school?
No, I didn't. Okay, so I'll tell you. All right, so just on what you were saying, like the experts, the college educated experts were the ones that wanted to drug my son. So right there, they drew the line for me. I'm like, I have no degree. And people come, like, on my website for the school, I'm like, I don't hire certified teachers, just letting everybody know. And occasionally, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, so I have a reputation. So somebody will come in, it's like, are you certified? I'm like, no, and that's to your benefit. Because it was the certified that wanted to drug my son. So they're in treason to their own profession. Teaching, never heard of, like, you're not going to drug me to make me a better cook. I'm going to need a cookbook and practice. My son needed practice. He needed somebody who was looking out for his best interests. And that's no longer the school. And again, my first grade teacher, he would have thrived in that system. And that's where you even get that, oh, well, I did well in school, he'll do well in school. And my response to that is, listen, the pot that we smoked when we were teenagers, it's not the pot that's on the market now. Things have changed, and you need to be aware that it's changed. Like the fact that these kids are getting 3 and 4 hours of homework did not exist when we were in first grade. It just didn't. So anyway, long story short, I ended up with like 15 kids in my house that were coming to me for homeschooling. And that's how in the middle of it, I became a single parent. And I became a single parent in a horrible way. My second husband took everything. Like, didn't pay, like, just, I'm done with being a family man, and left with all bank accounts and all of this. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I have? What can I do? Well, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, except make it better. So I raised my homeschooling fees, which people can do that. Like these parents, single moms, get 6 kids in, charge
Yep.
whatever it is, 1,000 a month, charge a material fee, have them all bring toilet paper and paper towels and hand sanitizers or whatever you need so that you're not out that cost. And it's not a living, like you're not going to buy a Lamborghini, but you're going to be able to live.
Yep.
And you're going to be able to have that, you're going to have that interaction. And for me as an artist, being an educator, the way that I do it is more creative than anything I could do on canvas. 100%. 100%. Anyway, so I ended up with the necessity to make more money. And I had my house full of kids. And then it was Christmas time, probably 2000 or 1998, 1999, around that time, maybe 2000. And this woman comes to see me. She has a 10-year-old. The woman is much better off than I am. She didn't have to work. And she had her 10-year-old in the best private schools, the best Christian schools. She wasn't reading. She went to the best psychologist, best psychiatrist, and everybody wanted to drug her. And because the girl was tall, she kept getting passed because they didn't want to wreck her self-esteem. Anyway, so this lady heard about me. And I'm like, okay, so this is what I propose. If she can't read, we're gonna say, and I can do a standardized test to verify everything. I can do a standardized test, but we're gonna assume she's in kindergarten skills. So we're gonna take her back and we're gonna teach her the alphabet properly. We're gonna teach her short vowel words properly, and we're gonna accelerate her forward. And the person who's gonna do it is my 17-year-old son, my oldest one. And this lady's like, what? I go, yeah, he helps me with the homeschooling. I pay him each week to help me with the homeschooling. And then he does he's wrapping up high school after school is over. And she goes, okay, all right. On the first day of homeschooling, she came and asked her daughter, got in the car. It's like, if you put me anywhere else, I'm running away from home.
Oh.
And my son had her doing Play-Doh and like make the alphabet, make an object, like make the letter B, now do a ball or a bat or whatever with it, and put her through a low gradient phonics program. Anyway, 6 weeks later, she's at 3rd grade in every subject. And the mom is like, and I even told the mom, I'm like, look, you got to back off. Because the mom's like, I do flashcards on the way to the grocery store. I make sure she reads every night. I'm like, you're going to drive her crazy.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
If she asks you to go to Barnes and Noble, stop everything and go.
Yes. Yes.
But, it's like when that light goes off, you got to go for it. Anyway, 6 weeks later, she comes to me. She goes, guess where I'm going 3 times a week? I go, where? She goes, Barnes and Noble. My daughter is reading on her own and enjoying it. She goes, Barbie, you don't realize your son, a teenager who only spent 1 year in school, has done more for my daughter than all of the college education and all the money that I spent. She goes, my mother just passed. She left me some money. Let's take this out of your house and let's do a private school. And I showed her. I was like, there's a location that I want. It cost us probably around $125,000. We thought it would be like $65,000 to renovate a storefront. We rent it, right? Anyway, it ended up being about $125,000, and we started a school there. Then it became a private school. As soon as you move from your house into a commercial location, it's a private school. And that school's been in that location for 23, 24 years. And we were able to help not just 15, but 50, 60 kids a year. So again, I'm going to go back to, and 50, 60 kids, okay, it's nothing to, it's good. But if you take a look at the grand scheme of things, it's really nothing,
Right.
it's nothing. So again, I go back to, how am I going to solve this? And I'm not trying to sound big-headed or egotistical, but how am I going to solve it? Um, so I wrote a book because I want people to know what they're getting into, and then I want them to know how I solved it as a homeschooler. And ultimately, what I want is what I needed as a homeschooler when I was starting because I couldn't find any materials. I would stay up and write them for the next day. And as soon as you get into any kind of volume, you can't do that. Like, that doesn't work. Um, so, what I want to do now is we'll just talk numbers. If I sell 1 million books, they're on Amazon. Enough is Enough by Barbie Rivera. If I sell 1 million books, the profit I make off of that is 6 million, which I'm not going to buy a boat. I'm going to turn my school over. I really want to get a building in Miami, have my own campus, and my daughter will take it. And then then I have to finance the creation of these materials. I want to write, and then I want to turn my writings over and my illustrations over to somebody who can then turn them into the cute emojis using AI, put it to where, okay, somebody can buy this and print it out PDF style, but now we have kindergarten, first grade, all the way up to eighth grade done, to where the eighth grade graduate is going to know how to write a letter, is going to know what the 7 functions of a period are, is going to know the grammar, is going to know the math, is going to know, he's going to know. He's going to be
Right.
well educated when he's in the eighth grade without the nonsense that the school is pushing down someone's throat. And if you want to add your religion to it, absolutely. Because it's just going to be based on like definitions of words. So there would basically be, let's just say I'm creating first grade math. There's going to be a textbook or a workbook because there's going to be an answer key and there's going to be a teacher guide. And then there's going to be the advices of, okay, you need Hi-Ho Cherry-O that you can get on Amazon or Target. You need this, you need that. And we're going to, what my teacher guide is you do 1 or 2 pages of the math, then you get up out of the chair and you go for a walk and you're looking to apply the concepts that the student is learning. Even as simple, if the child is learning what the color orange is, color the pumpkin orange. Now get up out of the chair and go find 5 orange things.
Yeah. Love it.
And then that way we do 2 things. We properly educate this generation or the future generation, and we properly educate the people who missed it the first time around.
That's exactly it, because I have learned so much. Either we forgot it or we were never taught it, but you learn so much as a homeschooler, as a homeschooling mom or dad. Like, I can't tell you, I get excited about the
Yes.
subjects that we are learning. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm teaching 4th or 5th grade, but man, it's exciting. It's fun. And so like my son and his best friend love astrophysics, astronomy, love science, and they asked my friend and I to teach at our co-op because the parents all they take subjects and it's voted on, and then they teach a class that year, and it's we get together every Friday. And so we're teaching from a homeschooling high school curriculum to elementary and middle schoolers. And I looked over it and I'm like, I don't need to dumb any of this down. These kids will get this. If they need to look up a definition of word, we'll look up a definition of word. But like these kids are brilliant and smart. And in fact, when they're not pushed, they get bored.
Yep.
Like I told my son was learning piano. He started doing piano. We've had 3 different piano teachers, and this one he has now is by far the best. Amazing teacher, really just in touch with what my son needs. And the first few months, he wanted to learn, but it's like you could tell he was just kind of like the outside observer would say, okay, he's struggling. We need to give him something more simple. And I said to the teacher, you're not challenging him enough. It needs to be harder. And so the teacher kicked it up a notch, gave him like harder assignments, gave him harder, like everything. And my kid just took off. And it's like that observation. Some
Yep.
kids, you need to back off. Some kids you actually need to make it harder. His best friend, he was learning pre-algebra, bored out of his mind, doing poorly. It's just him and his mom. It's not like he's having bad grades, but just like really, really doing poorly. And his mom was like, maybe this is too hard for him. We're kind of like, he's just leaving middle school. Like maybe this is just too advanced. And one day her son said, can we just skip this and go straight to algebra? Why do we have to do pre-algebra? And she goes, you want to try it? And this is what I love about homeschooling. What's the worst that can happen? Okay,
Right.
that was a little too hard. Let's back up and find your level. Like, you had to take
Yep.
that child and take that girl and go all the way back to kindergarten. But in 6 weeks, you got to the third grade. And that's another thing with homeschooling is that kids don't learn in a linear fashion. They might take 2 years to finish the fourth grade, but they may take 6 weeks to finish the fifth. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like they really have these leaps and bounds, and sometimes you just have to take longer with one subject and shorter with the other, each concept, until they get it. And everyone's different, right? Like some kids pick up tying their shoelaces right away. Some kids take years. Doesn't mean they're good or bad. It's just how it is. So you get in touch with them and what they need. So my friend jumped in. He was like in I want to say the sixth grade, that they jumped into like 10th, 11th grade algebra. And he is like rocketed, like completely finished it before the school year was out, like just going even more advanced. Like it was too basic. It completely lost interest. And you don't get that in the public school system.
Right.
And even in private schools, you don't get that personal one-on-one observation. How could you? In my area, is like I'm privileged to live in an area that is quite well off, just north of Seattle. Really good school systems. The average classroom size for high school is 35 to 45 kids a class per one teacher.
Wow.
How are you, as one teacher, going to manage the needs of 35 to 45 students?
Yeah, it's
Private
impossible.
schools, private schools here, and because I've looked into it, they're like fourth grade that have 20 to 25. Now it's smaller, right? Smaller than 35. But again, private school, you're spending over 10 grand a year, and your kid is one of 20 or one of 25. How are their individual needs being met and observed? They're not getting enough one-on-one time,
Right.
and everyone flourishes when they get one-on-one time.
That's
And
true.
it's just like you learn in 45 minutes sitting down with someone. You will get what you could have gotten in a full school day, what they consider that you would get in public school. But the thing is that it's not comparable, because my kid will do a deep dive into geography for an entire day, and I'm like, that's cool. Tomorrow we'll
Yep.
do math. Like, we cover what it would take months in one day. We would cover what a public school takes months to cover. You know what I mean? Like it's just you let their curiosity guide you. I love that you did that, and that idea that moms could grab a few other families and do some kind of co-op, or maybe charge to do their own little homeschool pod. And there's many ways to do it.
Yep.
Do you offer any kind of counseling? Like, could someone hire you to just consult with them if they're like
Yes, I'm not
interested in pursuing this?
yes, I'm not there yet. Like eventually what I want to do is like, okay, I have this book, Enough is Enough. It does touch upon how I homeschooled in it in the last section, and it gives lots of examples of all different types of people I had in my homeschool, including adults, because I had adults. I had this 55-year-old Vietnam vet, an African American, who was like, look, I miss schooling. Can I come? And I'm like, you can come twice a week and my son Damon will work with you. And it was wonderful, because under normal circumstances, if I didn't have a homeschool, my 15-year-old son never would have met this 55-year-old
Yes.
vet. And my 15-year-old son taught this 55-year-old vet the basics of grammar, to the point where this man was no longer illiterate.
I love it.
And there was like, it's like we take a 2-week Christmas break off, and then Ray didn't come back. And I'm like, oh, I wonder where Ray is. He called like at the end of January, and he's like, hey, tell Damon I'm out of the projects and I moved to Orlando and I have a job. I'm like, great.
That is so
So
awesome.
that was nice. So anyway, in that book, it does tell you some. The next thing that I'm going to write is more for the homeschoolers. Now that I'm out on podcasts and things like that, people have called me and I help them. Like, I'm like, look, I don't have the curriculum yet, but I can make recommendations. I have screenshots of some of the books that I have downstairs. I have a phonics book from like the 1930s that I just sent 2 weeks ago to a woman who sounds like a brilliant 10-year-old who just hasn't clicked with the reading. And I go,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, it's the materials. So
Yeah.
I sent a screenshot. I'm like, you can find these on eBay. And the lady called me, like, anyway, she called me. She's like, I love how this goes. I go, it's not like what they're doing now. They
Yes.
did it bit and piece. You didn't have to learn the whole alphabet at once. You started at a certain point, the short vowels, and you just hit it. And then as you added letters, you started building words, but they weren't trying to teach you everything.
Yeah.
And anyway, so this woman and we just clicked. So I will help. You can, again, if you subscribe at barbierivera.com, you'll get the free first 6 chapters. But I'll warn you, the first 6 chapters are depressing. I think I put out something on my website 2 weeks ago. I was like, I cannot be held responsible if after you read the 6 chapters, you dress in rags and are using a crayon to draw circles on the floor. I'm like, you got to get the whole book to find out the happy ending at the end and the solution, which again, my solution is, okay, the slow way. I sell 1 million books. It gives me money. I can start the publishing, like really for real. Because, right now I'm the 8th grade teacher in my own school, which is a full-time freaking job. So publishing and writing is a full-time job, which is what I need to do. And that's what I want to do for the rest of my life, is I want to create the curriculum that it makes sense. It goes from simple to hard without boring the child. It gives the parent a simple guide to follow without needing a PhD.
Mm.
And that's going to be, again, the slow way. I go on podcasts, I sell books. The fast way, somebody with the money steps up and says, okay, what is it? What is it? There was a gentleman, I do not know the name of his school, but he was from your area. And he's like, okay, I want to start a small private school. What am I looking at? I'm like, you're looking at funding every single thing for minimum 3 years. And he goes, okay.
Wow.
I go, that is the purchase, because this man was of the money that he purchased a church, and he had his wife, who was an interior designer, design it. And I think it was like a preschool or whatever he did. But I'm like, you're going to fund it for 3 years. So if you hire a kindergarten teacher and she doesn't have any students, she still gets paid whatever rate, because her not having any students is your fault in the promotion and marketing. It's not hers. We're going to assume she's a social personality and not driving people away. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're going to assume that. Anyway, he stopped funding it. In 2 years, he was solvent. He had 55 kids. And I'm like, there you go. He's not looking for 3,000 or 4,000. He just wanted a school where he wasn't sending his kids to private school or to a boarding school. He's like, I think I can do this myself. And he hired people to come in and run it for him. But the estimation on the financing was 3 full years. So I'm sure he spent a few $1,000,000. But now that school is up and running, and he's on the board of directors and whatever. So, and it is possible. I sometimes I just get discouraged. I look at the news and it's like so and so just got a facelift for $100,000. And I'm like, $100,000. What that would do for my school
Yeah,
or my activity? Now we're doing something, and it doesn't really do a lot because 100,000 really isn't a lot when you get into bigger think projects, but it is
right.
something, you know.
Move the needle, moving the needle. So
Exactly.
So right now we're looking for, angel investors or donors
Yes.
or just buy the book. Buy the book for a friend, buy a few books, invest in this vision. It's going to come to fruition because you're a force to be reckoned with and this is so needed in the world. It's approximately 43 million adult Americans in the United States are considered illiterate,
Yes.
and that is such a huge chunk of the population. Like I mean, even if people were to, branch off from this conversation and go, I'm going to start local literacy campaign for adults. Like, how many lives would you change and transform and touch? Because these people have in some way or another the public school system failed them as it fails so many, and I love that you're catching it early. You're
Yep.
catching children early, but I believe that reading is a right. I believe it's a privilege, but it's a right. It should be a right. It should be
Yep.
something that everyone has access to, and we should never write anyone off as incapable because, like you said, Helen Keller, look at her. And there's so many children who do have disabilities, and they're if the people around them believe the kids can't do anything, then they're not going to be exposed to the ability, to even try this. And I personally have known kids that had brain damage from one thing or another, and the parents said, "No, I'm going to help my kid," and against all the doctors' beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Doctors tend to have a more negative belief about our
Yep.
capabilities. The kids are flourishing, are
Yes.
reading, are some
Yep.
kids are nonverbal, but they've learned to read and they can point at words, and they turns out incredibly like amazing vocabularies, like
Yep.
incredibly intelligent, because the parents believed in the kids. So just don't two things you do need to do as a parent: do not believe any limitation anyone has ever said about your child, ever, ever, ever. I don't care if they're an expert or not. Do not believe limitations put on your kids or yourself. Two, do not kill their love of learning.
Yep.
I'll catch like my husband, for example, because he does the piano practice with our son, and sometimes he pushes our son, like, okay, come on, you could do that better or whatever. And you could just tell, like, and my son loves piano, but you can tell it's like now we're getting to borderline where he doesn't want to be doing it anymore. And I just look at my husband, I'm like, I don't want to anchor any negative feelings towards piano. Like, what are we doing? You don't need to push him. Like, he loves
Yeah.
doing it. Like, he will
Yeah.
do it on its own. He will sit there and play on his own for half an hour. Like, you don't, but it's like because my husband grew up with a professional musician as a father, he saw his dad practice 8 hours a day, like practice scales 8 hours a day. And so in his mind, it's like he's helping
Yeah.
our son, but it's like you have to look at the emotional state of the learner. If they're not like clicked in, and they're like not enjoying it, don't keep pushing, right?
Yeah.
Like like you said, go outside, like get out of the seat, go for a walk. A lot of education I do with my son is while we're out in the world, we're
Yeah.
talking. He's like, "Hey, how do I spell that? And what does this word mean? And can we look this up?" And it's just conversation. So much learning is conversational and experiential. Because my number one goal is not to kill his love of learning. And we did a test a few months ago, because when a child gets to a certain age in the state of Washington, they need to do annual tests.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised at how well he did. Like, I know he's good, right? But I was like, where are we compared to all the other, like, the
Yep.
normies, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, hot damn, like he's doing really well.
Yep.
And here we are doing very non-traditional education, and he like just shot it out of the ballpark. And this is the exciting thing is that if you follow these two principles, right? Like don't believe any limitation, don't put any limitation on your child, don't believe any limitations. Get creative, get resourceful, allow your child to allow their excitement to guide their education. And same with you, right? Like you and I and everyone listening, you're listening to this because you let your curiosity guide your education, right? We're all scholars, we're all continuing to learn. And then don't kill their love of learning and switch, change state. If they're in a bad state, don't keep like you did. You forced, when you first started, forcing your child to sit down for 3 hours doing homework. Homework is the most ludicrous thing. I will just wrap this up by saying, if you worked a 9 to 5 job in an office, let's say you worked for Amazon or Microsoft, right? Like one of these companies that's nearby me. I have friends that work at Microsoft. I have friends that work at Amazon. Imagine they go home for the day and then they're expected to work 3-4 more hours like on personal projects. Now, if you own your business, you are working as an entrepreneur, the saying is like, I work 100 hours, so I don't have to work 40 hours.
Yep.
I think that's different. Like you
Yeah,
chose
of course,
that
but
torture.
you're
Like you
motivated.
chose that. You're motivated. It's your business. It's your baby, right? But when you're working for a company, like when you go home, like I get there's certain times you have the project or you have a deadline, but you're not expected to. Like the entire workforce the culture of the entire workforce is not expected to go home and do homework for 2, 3, 4 hours every night after you get home from work. No, let a kid be a kid. So anyways, there's my soapbox.
There you go.
I love what you're doing. I love your project. I'm so excited about it. I'm really excited to promote this. The book is Enough is Enough. The website's enoughinsenoughbook.com, but you want to go to BarbieRivera.com. And of course, the links to everything that Barbie does is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntoyourhealth.com. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing. Can you please come back and give updates? I want updates on your projects and how you're going. Very excited for what you're doing.
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. Is there anything that you want to say to wrap up today's interview?
No, I think that we said it. I mean, first of all, if you're on the fence homeschooling, just know you're never going to have it all figured out. You're just not. You just need to start. And there are tons of resources to get that going. My personal thing with the curriculum is go old school with the books. Don't do anything modern because it's just like you said, like I called it, like when I was doing homework with my son, I was just giving him the same poison, but in a nicer spoon. I was just facilitating the same nonsense. So you want to watch for that. So that's where I go back to just reading, writing, math. Simple.
Awesome. I love it. And everything else is really going to fall into place because their curiosity and exploring the world. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Barbie. This has been awesome, and I can't wait to have you back.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Barbie. I know I did. It was so wonderful talking to her. Since you're here, you've listened to the entire interview. What I know more and more is that the power of prayer does make such a big difference. So since you're here, I want to reward you for staying till the end. And if you're someone who receives prayer, I'd like to pray for you. And please join me in praying for everyone who listens to this podcast. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your guidance. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for your Son, who you sent here to teach us what love is and to save us. I thank you for your word, and I thank you for the healing that you provide. Jesus, you are the great healer, and you say that we can heal ourselves too. So I ask for healing for everyone listening. I ask for revelation for everyone listening, that you open our eyes and our ears and our hearts so we can hear your guidance, so we can feel the intensity of your love, the love that burns away all the guilt, the shame, the sorrow, the fear. We give it to you and allow your love to penetrate deep into our hearts. We want to feel you and have a close relationship with you. We are seeking healing on every level. And I know that we will feel your presence more and more as we invite you into our hearts and into our lives. Thank you for your guidance, and thank you for your friendship. And thank you for the Learn True Health listeners. Please bless them. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Saltzman, and I am the head coach at TakeYourSupplements.com. I wanted to share with you a testimonial that I received from a client of mine, one of the many success stories that I have, but this one just was very close to my heart because she's young and has struggled so much to regain her health and has had just such a phenomenal overcoming testimonial that I really wanted to share it today. She writes, "My name is Angela. I am 25 years old. I have been on a health journey that consists of an autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia, and other issues that left me feeling defeated and debilitated every day for 15 years. I have seen 8 different specialists, and many doctors have been in and out of physical therapy dealing with symptoms I thought would leave me wheelchair bound and in diapers by the time I was 30. Well, I am now 25, and after everything I've learned through Jennifer at TakeYourSupplements.com, that definitely won't happen. Some things doctors have said to me have crushed my hopes. I was told to lose weight and that my pain would go away. So I lost 90 pounds, and the pain was still there. My days were short, and after a 5-hour work shift or even a day of running an errand or two, I was left debilitated. So the doctors told me the pain was all in my head because I was previously diagnosed with fibromyalgia, the only diagnosis so many doctors agreed upon because they couldn't think of anything else despite me having some form of an immune disease. I felt hopeless and as if life was going to pass me by. There were times when I tried hiking 1 or 2 miles and I was unable to walk or function for days after. I was missing out on trips and adventures, and as embarrassing as it sounds, I was having BM bathroom emergencies so frequently, it was ruining my daily function. I could go on about the ways I was ill and what it kept me from, but honestly, after the progress I've made, a long list of symptoms I used to have become a blur of the past. When I finally decided to check out TakeYourSupplements.com, recommended through the Learn True Health podcast, I was immediately connected with Jennifer, who kept track of my overwhelmingly long list of complex symptoms and thoroughly created a personalized step-by-step plan. Her recommendations have changed my life, and the changes were practically instant. She put me on a complete digestive activation complex that has taken away all of my stomach pain, unnecessary bloating and gas, and she explained to me that the formula supports every stage of digestion from breakdown to absorption, designed to optimize stomach acid, bile flow, and nutrient assimilation. She recommended a cellular repair-focused diet, which not only has helped my stomach, but the food gives me energy and makes me feel really good. It reduces inflammation in my body, something no doctor ever told me about. When I first started with Jennifer, I took the TakeYourSupplements.com health evaluation, and I scored a negative 32. I just retook it and scored a 69. That's 100 points better in 5 months. Still room for progress, but my life nevertheless has been changed, and I am so happy. My days have been much longer and full of adventure. I have hiked the 4,000-footer mountains of New Hampshire, something I never thought I would be able to do. I have had successful days of workouts, errands, and work. The Learn True Health podcast and Jennifer at TakeYourSupplements.com have done more for me than any doctor ever has. And it all started with validation. I am now 25 and feel my life is just now starting. It's really hard to put into words just how much has changed for me. So I'll keep on living as actively as possible and learning as much as I can so I can finally take part in the beautiful things of life. I can't wait for the adventures to come with the hope I've been given through this program. If anyone out there hears this and feels their doctors are taking more than they're giving, give this a try. Thank you, Ashley and Jennifer. Your knowledge and expertise is a gift I cherish every day.
I love it. It's so amazing to hear all the testimonials that come from the people who go to takeyoursupplements.com. My life was transformed. My life was transformed from takeyoursupplements.com, from the same protocols that are used through takeyoursupplements.com. And I'm just so grateful that we can spread this information and help those people who are praying for answers. And shame on the medical industry to hold back this information. It is so sad, but when you look and you dive into why is it that medical doctors who are well-intentioned are not even taught how to help people heal their bodies. Medical doctors are not taught. That's not in their education. They pay close to $500,000 in education, and they're not even taught how to help you heal your body and reverse and heal chronic illness. TakeYourSupplements.com and the amazing holistic health coaches that work there are trained by outstanding experts, these naturopathic doctors and research scientists who have developed these protocols that support your body to heal itself. And that's what I love. It's a totally different concept. It's not drug-based medicine. We're not treating symptoms. We're supporting the body's God-given ability to heal itself. So thank you, Jen, for coming and sharing that testimonial. It is one of thousands of testimonials and stories that we get from people whose lives have been transformed. And thank you for sharing that inspiration, because I know when I was sick and suffering, hearing the stories, the success stories of people's lives transformed through holistic health is what kept me going and drove me to keep seeking these answers. So go to takeyoursupplements.com. It's free to have a consultation, and they can work with any budget. They're amazing there. It truly is their mission.
One of the things that really sets our program apart is that we take the time to understand the different categories of nutritional deficiency in an individual, design a program specific to that, follow up with them, and help them fine tune it as necessary. So nobody feels like they're out there figuring it out for themselves. They're coached through the process of onboarding, adjusting, and then eventually hopefully moving to a more of a maintenance program for extended well-being. And we watch their health score over the 90-day time elevate greatly. Like this young gal I just read, her score went up 100 points. We did it at the 5-month mark in this case. But I always do the health evaluation after 3 months, and I always see people's score elevate. So wherever somebody is, they're going to get supported help that is specific to their situation with a program that is so foundational and so thorough that we don't miss things that other doctors miss.
You brought up this term nutrient deficiency, and a lot of us do not realize that the root cause of our cellular dysfunction is nutrient deficiency. And I've covered this in several interviews. And in fact, when you work with Jen, when you go to takeyoursupplements.com and work with Jen, she gives you resources. So if you want to go down that rabbit hole and learn more, you can learn why we have nutrient deficiency in a world where we're eating too much. Like we have access to so much food. You wouldn't think you'd have nutrient deficiency, and yet that has been the root cause all along. And so when you work with Jen, she helps you to maximize your cellular nutrition. So now your cells can function healthfully, and these symptoms melt away. Illness melts away. I was able to reverse type 2 diabetes, chronic adrenal fatigue. I was able to reverse polycystic ovarian syndrome and infertility. And my adrenal fatigue, it melted away within days. And I'd suffered for years. And that is due to the fact that I was nutrient deficient. In a world where we have access to so much food, it's quantity, not quality. We're not getting the nutrients we need. So I can't speak highly enough about takeyoursupplements.com and how transformative it is to work with them. Go check them out. It is so worth it. Thank you, Jen, for the work you do. It's phenomenal.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be able to disseminate that which has been given to me and helped me so much with others who are, needlessly suffering and have, need to really understand back to the way God and nature intended for our bodies to function. We need certain basic nutrients and they're just simply missing from our food. And so I just am so grateful that I have this tool to help people with.